Hello and welcome to this Dragonfly for Industry webinar. So I think we can get started. I see some people still joining, but we can get started already. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Anton du Plessis and I'm the Business Development Manager for Dragonfly Software. This is the first of a new series of webinars that we will be hosting. I won't always be the host, but I will be managing the Dragonfly for Industry webinars, which are focusing on industrial applications. And the first focus topic for this industrial series is porosity analysis. So today's focus will be everything about using Dragonfly for porosity analysis. It's a very popular application of CT data analysis, and it's something that's widely used. Of course, also there's very different kinds of porosity and different kinds of needs for analyzing different types of porosity. So the idea today is to show different applications in the software, from the basics, the regular porosity analysis of an industrial part, all the way up to more complex topics like connected porosity and even AI. So it's a 100% practical webinar. I will be demonstrating tools in the software live on a Dragonfly workstation. And I hope there's something for everybody in here. I know a lot of people are absolutely new to Dragonfly in this webinar, but also so I will try to go not too fast. And if you lose the plot a little bit, if some topics are too complex, the webinar is being recorded, so you can always go and look again. And for expert users, just bear with us. I really would like you to stay to the last example. I've got 5 different examples or 5 different data sets that I will work through in this webinar. And the last one in particular is a real difficult, typical challenge of porosity analysis in a metal part with very much image artifacts, so bright and dark areas in the image. And it's a real live example that I will be demonstrating AI segmentation on. So I think I've said everything I wanted to say, and there will be also, I have my colleague Zishang Kao, who is also with us. He will be available to answer questions in the Q&A box if some questions come up during the webinar. And hopefully there will be some time at the end also to answer some of these questions or to discuss some of those further. So with that, I'd like to share my screen and get started with the first example. So let me just get to my web, where I would like to show you. I would like to maximize this screen. So, okay, there we are. There you should see at this point a Dragonfly workspace with no data loaded. And what we will do is we will start from scratch and we'll go to File, Import Image Files. So this is the regular way to import an image stack or a raw file or whatever format your CT or micro CT system provides. You load this in this image loader. Today, we're loading a stack of images, which this data was provided by researchers at University of Trento, which was part of a research study. Once I've loaded these images, in this image loader, you can select the voxel size in X, Y, and Z in this location here. At the moment, it's already encoded, so it's 5 microns per pixel. And you can also crop on import, but we won't be doing that today. We'll just load this and have a look at the data once it's loaded. So the idea in this first example is to demonstrate some of the simplest way to analyze porosity. And I will also show how to crop your data in order to analyze not the entire data set. So what we see here is the 3D view of the sample. It's a tensile sample. It's a small tensile sample manufactured by a metal additive manufacturing with some rough surface that you see on the 3D view here. If you look in the 2D cross-sectional windows, if you take this crosshairs to one of these features, you can see there a nice feature at the center of the crosshair. If you zoom in on that, you can see that quite nicely in all three views. So that's one example of the type of porosity we are interested in here. Now, the first step before we make the segmentation and the analysis in Dragonfly is to show you about how to do a clipping and a cropping, because in this data, we're not interested in the porosity in the top and bottom of the sample in these grip regions. We're only interested in the porosity in the gauge length in the central section. So if you have clicked on a data set on the right-hand side, there's a clipping box that you can access, and you can use this clipping box to cut away some of the sample. This is for visual representation only, but I will demonstrate to you how to use this box to crop the data to a smaller and new image data set that we can then use for analyzing the porosity. This step is not necessary for porosity analysis, but in this series, we like to work with real-world samples, so I would like to show you what, in this case, is the best way to do it. So now we've done a clipping. This is with a clipping box. You can do it also in 3D, so drag these edges. And what we'll do to crop that to make a new data set is to right-click on this name of the data set and go to Modify and Transform Crop. So this data set cropper tool it already has the values for the clipping box. So by creating a new and clicking Apply, you will have a new data set here. This new data set, if you visualize that, has only data in that box region. So it's different than the clipped box because now you have only data in this region. And why that is useful is because we will be using the histogram, the gray values of the entire data set for making a thresholding. And in this case, we are only interested to analyze the section. So let's use only this data. So that's how you can crop data, which is also useful for other applications. So the simplest way to segment porosity in Dragonfly is to right-click and go to Automated Porosity Segmentation. So in the next example, I will show also the other ways of doing this, but in this example, I'll just do Automated Porosity Segmentation using basic OTSU. So what this does is it chooses automatically a threshold based on the gray values in that data set. And as you see, this pore is nicely segmented there with a blue colored region of interest, ROI. So we can at this point already visualize the data. If we have a look in the 3D window, I'm going to double click the 3D window. I'm going to make this data set transparent using the edge contrast slider. And I will make this even more transparent. And if I open up the visibility of the region of interest, there you see the porosity in 3D space. So these are all the pores inside the sample. So in Dragonfly, this region of interest is now in totality having a volume measure here of 0.001 cubic millimeters. This 0.01% is not the percentage of porosity in the gauge bar. It's in the whole volume. So you have to be careful there. I will show you in the next example how to get percentage values of porosity. In this first example, I just want to demonstrate that how to analyze now the sizes of pores by color coding. So the way to do this is we need to change this region of interest into a multi-region of interest. What that means is each separate entity needs a value in a spreadsheet in order to be calculated for having values of volume and diameter and so on. So if you right-click on the region of interest and make a connected components analysis, this allows you to see all the components that are connected. We will create a new multi-ROI. 6 connected is the default. If you are interested to learn more about 6 versus 26 connected, you can have a look in the help file. It has to do with how voxels are considered connected by the number of faces and edges and corners. The default is 6 connected, so just always use that if you're unsure. We have a multi-region of interest, a new object here, which I make visible in 3D, and you can see the pores. Each pore has a different color at this point. So why is this useful? Because now I can right-click on this multi-ROI, and now I can compute measurements for each of those different entities or each of those pores. So with this new compute measurement box, we can go to basic measurements and select what we want, like volume, equivalent spherical diameter, and for example, we can take sphericity. So these are the three I'm always using. You can look through what else you are interested in. I would not recommend to choose all of them, because if you have many thousands of pores, some of these things might take some time to calculate. But if you click compute, you can see that with only the ones that you need, it's very fast. And nothing changes in the view, because you have to tell the software which would you want to look at. You do that here under scalar information, and you select, let's select volume as a starting point. So here we can see the largest pore is the yellow one down here, and then there are smaller pores with a purple to yellow lookup table color bar. If you would like to change the color bar, you can click on this lookup table box, and you can choose something else. I often take the temperature color map to show the biggest pore red and the smallest ones blue. So that's the basic way of creating a color-coded analysis. You can select equivalent spherical diameter, and you can visualize that. At this point, you might want to right-click and export an image, or it's called a screenshot of this view. So you can save that to a JPEG or a TIFF file. You can also analyze the porosity in the software using this histogram button. So with this button down here, you can click on it, and you can analyze either the equivalent spherical diameter versus frequency. So this is the pore size distribution. Or you can look at the volume distribution, or you can look at the sphericity distribution. So this is how you can analyze results in the software statistically. You can select values like let's take the median of this sphericity. This gives you a value down here that you can also show in the histogram. The usefulness there is that you can export that. You can save the figure as a JPEG or a TIFF file, or whatever figure format you like. You can also export the binned data to plot it somewhere else. So you can take this statistical information and plot it in other software. The other thing that you can do is you can export everything that you have calculated. So for each pore, not the statistical information, the direct information as a spreadsheet of volume per pore and equivalent spherical diameter of each pore and so on. So that gives you a long list of values of volumes for each pore in that space. So also, while I'm talking on this example, there in this labeled class count, this refers to the number of pores in the sample. That's the number of entities in the multi-ROI. So that's already giving you also some information on how many pores are in the sample. So that's really everything I wanted to show you on the first example. So it's relatively still easy. I would now like to move on to the next example. And I'm going to make a new session to clear all of this out of memory. And I'm going to load a concrete block. So this concrete block is on our website, so you can get this data set and do this yourself and work with this yourself. It's quite a nice one for learning. I'm going to do import objects in this case, because this is a format that we use to save data with. I've saved it here under my webinar folder, an ORS object file. And what you see here, this is what the block looks like. It's a block of concrete with aggregate stones, cement, and pore spaces inside. So the first thing I want to show here, if what we want to do is very much similar to the previous example. Again, segment the porosity in the simplest way using Otsu thresholding, but I will also show you how to do that manually with Otsu thresholding and to adjust that manually. But before we get there, I want to show you some 3D rendering, because we want to save not only nice images, but also nice videos, and we will use this later. So let's start with this rendering. If we double click on the 3D window to maximize it, we can choose some preset here to try out some presets that might look quite nice for this rendering. So this is the second webinar and that I've done this morning. I made one for Europe and Asia, and I used the copper preset, so I will do the same here. You can now use this preset and adjust it and change it for your own liking. So there's various different parameters that you can adjust. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but on the left under window leveling, this is contrasting basically. You can change the brightness of the data, and you can also change the color mapping over the range. So these two usually help to make the surface rendering look much better. You can also change the angle of the lighting to show some shadows, but still show a nice surface effect. You can also change the shadow strength to make it look brighter. I think that's pretty good enough. If you would like to save a nice picture of the surface like this, you might want to remove this here. This is the text annotations. So this is under the scenes view properties, and you might want to remove the legend at the bottom here. But I would prefer to leave it there and just click somewhere else. It only becomes visible when you click on it. So this is showing the gray values that are in the data, basically in this case. Usually there would be a color bar for some measurement as well. So that's for visualization for now enough. What we will do here is auto segment the porosity again. So we will repeat the same steps as before. Right click on the data, go to automated porosity and make a basic OTSU. At this point, maybe I can just explain what the other options are here. The basic OTSU uses the automatic threshold between the two main peaks in the data. And the advanced OTSU, this basic OTSU then uses all the gray values of the background, the air, and the material. But as you can imagine, depending on how you cropped the sample within the air, the size of the air peak might differ. And this might change the threshold very slightly. So the advanced OTSU refines that by using only a thin layer of air around the sample and not all the air around the sample. So that's what the advanced OTSU is, and it's quite recommended if you are interested in capturing smaller pores. So it's slightly more sensitive to smaller pores. The Sobel threshold is really only for special cases when you have homogeneous material, not like this sample that we have here with different materials. And also it's really slow and meant for samples where the gray value distribution changes a lot across the sample. So I would recommend the first two here, and let's just click on basic OTSU and show you the end result is exactly what we have done before. Let's just make if we click on the 3D window and click on the data set itself, we can again make it transparent with the edge contrast slider, and we can drag it all to the left, and we can make the porosity visible. So there we see all the pores that have been segmented here. So one of the things you might notice, there's a lot of small pores that are visible in 3D. And if you double click on a 2D window, you can see there's some small pores here, which might only be 1 voxel in width. So we want to clean up the data and remove these things. If you toggle it off and on, you can see, yeah, that's probably not a pore. So we can do something called to remove these noise segmentations. You can right click and refine the region of interest. So I did a right click and we can refine this region of interest. We use something called process islands because each part of the region of interest that is separate is called an island. And we then remove by voxel count. So here with porosity analysis, it's typical to remove anything less than 3 voxels in one direction. So 3 times 3 times 3 in 3 dimensions is 27. So in order to be confident in our porosity that we are not getting false positives, we can remove everything less than 3 by 3 by 3. You can select a different value depending on your image quality, but there we see that we have now removed that noise. And in 3D, we also see it's a less cluttered image. So the first thing that you might notice here also is that we've segmented the porosity, and you might have, some of you might have already typed something in the Q&A box, is there is a pore that's not segmented, but why is that? And the reason for that, and that's why this is a good example, is if you look at that with the crosshairs, you see that this feature is actually open to the surface. And if we make the sample in 3D visible again, we can actually right-click in 3D and show the 3D cursor and have a look. We can have a look at the surface there and identify the hole on the surface. So it is open to the surface. That's what I wanted to just demonstrate. It's an open pore. And later in this example, I will show you how to segment these open pores also. So we will spend a bit of time on the sample. The first thing we want to do is make the nice color-coded porosity again, as we did before. But just before we do that, I want to demonstrate on this data the manual way of doing this. I've shown you the automated porosity, but we have a whole range of segmentation tools here, and these are totally adjustable. So not having just one or two or three options. So the way to do this thresholding automatic by manually is by choosing the define range option under the segment panel on the left. And here we choose lower Otsu. Now you can show the histogram and it shows you that this is all the gray values from the 0 all the way up to this point, which is calculated as 15,838 based on the distribution here and the Otsu algorithm. So it's an automatic algorithm. You can manually adjust that. You can change the values. You can drag the yellow bar. I'm just going to use the Otsu threshold and add to new. So this button creates a region of interest. I will put this define range preview off, the tick box. And if I put that off, we see this new ROI has all the porosity, all the air in the sample segmented. Now, we are interested only in the internal closed pores. So the way to do that manually is to right-click and refine. We've been here before at Process Islands, but this time we're going to do something called remove by largest. So the outside air is the one largest island. So this is one way to use this. So you can remove all the exterior air like that. And if we do again the same thing with refine and remove by voxel count 27, this is the same as we have done before. Now we have identical regions of interest. Then this is exactly what the automated porosity does actually, but we've just done it manually. So I just wanted to explain that because it might be, it's something that you use quite often. You don't always want to be limited to just one option. You might want to change the threshold manually or calculate your own threshold. So let's just delete that for now. We've got the porosity ROI. We are interested to make a color-coded analysis and make a nice image and a video as a next step. So the way to do it, the same as before, right-click, make a connected components, new multi-ROI. And on this multi-ROI, which by the way looks quite nice in 3D, if I click on the 3D window and on the data set, I can make it again transparent and I can show this multi-ROI. It's already, even though the colors don't mean anything, it's already quite impressive picture. I just double click on that. And at this point, we are ready to make a compute measurements. So I right click on the multi-ROI and compute measurements. Here we go again for volume, equivalent spherical diameter, and sphericity. These are the three that I always go for. And so it's exactly the same as the previous example. Here we have the porosity by volume, and I've already shown you how to remove the annotations from the image, from the background. What we can also do in the main panel is change the background color. So we can change the background color to maybe something not as dark, changing all the way to white in the middle, or you can also make uniform backgrounds. And what you can also do is you can change the text of the color bar by double clicking and calling this just porosity. Then when you change what you're looking at, it will be porosity volume, porosity equivalent spherical diameter, and porosity sphericity. So we can also change the color of this by choosing again this temperature color map. So that's quite looking a lot of red because there's a lot of spherical pores. If we look at the diameter, that's maybe a bit more nice gradient from blue to red. So at this point, we have the results. We can analyze statistically in the software. There's the equivalent spherical diameter. We can look at the sphericity. We can get values from that, as I showed you in the previous example. But for now, I just want to show you how to make a video, an animation from that to share with your customer or for your publication or for your application, for your whatever you're interested, where you want to share it. So the way to do this is to right-click in the window and show Movie Maker. So we've already prepared everything. The data is already, the pores are already color-coded. What you see down here is a time scale, which shows you the length of a video, and we will add frames to this. So the first thing we want to do as a first frame is we want to see not the transparent image. We want the video to start at this point. So I'm going to say update key. Actually, I don't want this legend to be visible, so I want this legend to be visible. So I will update the key so that that is actually visible. And the next step would be then to go back and make this transparent up to the transparency that we're interested in, like that, and click again on the porosity to make it active to show the color bar. Now we can add this as a key. And at this point, once we've got it transparent, the next step in the video can be to make a rotation. So there's a rotate button here, and we can use a standard rotation through 360 degrees. And what we see here is that we have a 6-second video. Maybe we'd like to make it more like a slower rotation so that you can more easily see how the sample looks like. And I'm dragging it out to be 12 seconds. So from 3 to 12 seconds is the rotation of the sample. So if I click on the first one, double click there, we can make a play button, which makes a preview in the software to show you what your video will look like. It's good to do this to check if this is what you expect the result to be looking like. And once you're happy with that, you can click on this button here to export the animation. So I typically choose HD resolution and save to a video file, AVI file, and that takes a couple of minutes. So I'm not going to go through that here, but that's how you save a video. Easy enough. So I'm going to get out of this now by right-clicking and closing the Movie Maker. Yes, I'm sure. Thank you. The next thing that we want to do on this data is to work further on segmentation and defining the open porosity and versus closed porosity. So let's forget about the analysis. We already have the porosity region of interest. So there's different ways of segmenting this pore. You can do it manually. What I will show you here is quite a nice way of doing it by closing this cavity in a kind of shrink wrap method. So we will go to segmentation and we will now define range. And something about the define range that I just want to share here, it's a sequential thresholding. So you can use, if you click upper Otsu, and if you click it again, it will make the Otsu only of this previewed red section. So if I click it again, it will show the brightest of the bright parts. So that's quite useful sometimes, not in this data. So I'm just going to reset that. And in this case, we're interested just in defining the basic upper Otsu, which is the bright part, the material fraction. So I put the tick box off, and at this point, we can do a hole filling. The thing about the hole filling is we need to understand what the width of the hole is that we want to fill in order not to waste too much time. So I will go in the main panel and use a ruler annotation and check what the width is there. It's just below 1 millimeter. So I'm going to just delete that ruler. And on this region of interest, I'm going to make a right click and refine and fill connected pores with a diameter smaller than. So this is a little function which is quite useful for this kind of application. I'm going to choose 1 millimeter, and it makes a new region of interest. If I open the visibility of that, you will see that it's closed up that cavity. It's not closed up everything in the sample, but it's closed up surface connected cavities. So if we just focus on this, we can now go to segment and we can use another tool called Full Inner Areas 3D. So what that does is it now, if you keep your eye on these black dots inside the sample, if I click that, it's going to fill that in. So now we have a nice filled object. So the next thing that it's not, this next step is not necessary, but I like to do this, is I like to erode the sample away under the surface. So I don't want to have surface little concaves which are seen as open pores. I want to erode away this region of interest to only analyze this part, which is now blue. So this is now, let's call it material eroded. So this is our material fraction. Now, the way to segment now the pore spaces is, again, we use again the define range. And in this case, I'm just resetting it again and making lower O2 to define all air. And with this, let's call this all air. And if I now select both the air and the material eroded, if by holding down Control and left mouse button, both are selected. You see that with the capital letters A and B there. There's a new operation window that is available here. So we can make here an intersection. So this is where the blue and the red intersect. This is all the porosity in the sample and not the exterior porosity. So this yellow is now all the porosity. Let me just put that off. So this is open and closed pores, but we also have the noise particles. So we have to do the same thing and be consistent with the refine and remove by voxel count. So this is now open and closed porosity. And we have already, this porosity is the closed porosity. So if I click on open and closed and I highlight with a Control and left mouse button and select closed porosity, I can subtract them from each other. This would be the open porosity without the closed porosity. So in that way, we have separated out open and closed porosity. Let me demonstrate this in 3D. It's quite nice actually in this example. So if we make it transparent, we can show the open porosity. So this is the big pore that we have been looking at, and there are actually some other open pores and cavities as well. And if we have a look at the closed porosity, that's the blue one. And the nice thing here is if we click on the material region of interest, we can also get the percentage fractions. So you can compare now the material with closed porosity. This is 2.02%. And with open porosity, it's 0.38%. So that's also why I wanted to go through this exercise. It's also relevant to other cases where you have segmented something and you want to get the relative volume fractions. So that's everything that I wanted to show on that sample. It's quite, it was quite a couple of steps, and I hope it wasn't too much, but I think it was quite a nice one to demonstrate the typical workflow of analyzing porosities in typical industrial samples. I will now go to the next example. I'm going to clear without saving. So in this next example, the idea is to explain a little bit more of a niche topic of analyzing connected pore spaces. So I'm going to import this object, which is an idealized sample, which was created by my colleagues in Montreal. It's a theoretical sample, which is easier to explain the concept of connected porosity analysis rather than using a real sample here. So what you will see in this data, if I just make it also in 3D transparent, you will see that we have this pores inside the sample, these spherical cavities, but they have small connections between them. So they have, all of them are interconnected. How can we demonstrate that? We can go to segment, go to define range, lower Otsu, add to new. And if we show that in 3D, you can see in 3D that there are little connection throats between all these pores. There's one way to check it, how well they are connected, by doing a right click and making a connected components analysis. This multi-ROI has only one class, so there's only one pore space. So everything is interconnected here. This is one way of checking the interconnectivity of pore spaces. So let me just demonstrate something. If we were to work with data like this, one way that some people like to work with this is to separate the pores from each other using erode, dilate, or opening and closing functions. If I do that, I did a 2 times erode and 2 times dilate. Now this region of interest, each of these are separate. And we can demonstrate this by making, again, a connected components, new multi-ROI. Now each of these is a different color, and we have 120 different pores in this volume. And if we look at that in 3D, it's quite a nice colorful picture in 3D, and they are separated. So you can analyze them separate like that. So you can you can separate your pores artificially. That's one way of handling it. The other way of handling, or one of the other ways of handling this, is doing a volume thickness mapping. And this is why I wanted to use a theoretical data, because it's quite difficult to find a good real case which is easy to understand for that. So I'm going to make again the segmentation of the pore space. Let's just call this the pore space ROI. And what we will do here, if I right click, I will make create a mapping called a volume thickness mapping. So what this does is it fits spheres into that region of interest in each location in space. And at each point, it records the largest sphere that fits into that space. So the end result is a image data set where the grayscale value is the local thickness in millimeters. So it's something which can be quite time consuming on big data, but it's very useful in this case, as I will demonstrate in a minute. So it's a grayscale image. Let's focus on the 3D picture here. I'm interested to change this grayscale to a color map. Let's take again the temperature color map. And what we can do with the temperature color map, or what we have to do, is, because this is an image data, we now want to see the local colors. We don't want to interpolate the color between the background blue value and the rest of the thickness. So it's basically a little trick that you have to take nearest here to remove interpolation. And the other trick is to, let me just make the sample even more transparent. So the other trick here is that from this volume thickness mapping, we have to go to the window leveling panel, and we want to see all colors without a gradient. We want to use the constant bandpass. So in that way, we can see the local thickness of this pore space with blue in this sections here, which are 0.01 millimeter in this case, and red up to almost 0.1 millimeter. So that's how you can get a local thickness mapping, local volume thickness mapping, to analyze interconnected pore spaces. Now, this is for visualization only, but you can analyze this statistically by clicking on the region of interest. If you click on the region of interest, there's a histogram button that you can look at. And we are not interested in the gray values. The default is the gray values. We are interested here to select the local volume thickness. So this is the volume thickness result in that region of interest. And if you look at the median of that, or the mode of that, you have these values which give you the local thickness of these cavities. So if you look carefully on a log scale, there's also some small sections here. These are the connections between them, so the pore throats. So the volume thickness mapping is one useful tool to look at and analyze interconnected pore spaces. There's also some other tools. We have graph representation, which is a way to measure the connectivity between pore spaces by the number of connections between them. This graph representation is a bit more of a specialized topic. And we also have some other topics, some other things, but we don't have time for all of that today. What I do have time for, and what I do think is important to demonstrate here, is if we just look at the region of interest and we look at one of these slices, like in the XY plane, we can easily do a region of interest area fraction versus distance. So let me demonstrate. If you right click in this window, we can start something called a slice analysis. If I pull this out and we can see the slice analysis window here, we can just maximize it a bit. We can calculate the region of interest area over distance. So there's let me just pull this up. There's a compute button. So what this does is it calculates the local region of interest area versus distance. So this is in the XY plane along the Z axis. So you can have a look at your area fraction of pores versus distance. You can do the same for the material fraction over the distance if necessary. And in that way, you can get porosity versus distance along one direction. It's useful if you have some directionality or some interest in having more if there's more pores in one side of your sample than the other. Right, so that's everything that I wanted to show in this data set, and we're still good on time because the last two examples are AI examples where I won't go into full as much detail. So I will clear without saving. And the next one I will load up here is a coupon sample, a 3D printed coupon sample with lots of intentional porosity. Let me just open it up. So this data set was part of a study of a few years ago together with researchers at RMIT, actually. And this is the sample. It's a cube sample with some knobs on top and some really ugly surface at the bottom. And we'll just have a look at one slice here in the middle of the sample. This is, even though it's not turned upright, this is okay for this demonstration. We're only interested in segmenting these pores and demonstrating AI segmentation in this case. So what I want to show you here is the fact that we have, for this kind of sample, an AI segmentation. So let me first of all say, if we want to use this, in the segment panel, right at the bottom is the segment with AI panel. If this is not, in your case, visible, you can click on artificial intelligence and segment with AI, and this would activate it. In my case, I've already got many models. In your case, if you start out with Dragonfly, you won't have any models in this drop-down box, but you can use a ready-to-use model which has already been trained for additively manufactured porosity. And this is what I want to demonstrate. So if you click on this little button, it takes you to a library of models which we have trained before. The first one in this list is the AM defect model. So this one was calibrated on, it was trained on 25 calibrated data sets and is meant to segment pores, material, and background. So that's exactly what we have here, and we want to use that. So in your case, let me just demonstrate what you would do. I've already loaded this into my system, but in your case, you would tick the box and install that model into your system. What then is possible once you've done that is you can then select this model from your list of models, like the AM defect model here. So you can usually then segment the full data set, or if you want to save some time and just have a quick look, you can use the preview, which does a segmentation only on this one slice, which is much faster to get an idea. So before I do that, I have to say that this model, this ready-to-use model is meant for calibrated, intensity calibrated data. That means the background needs to be calibrated to 0 and the material needs to be calibrated to 100. This data was already like that, as you see with a color bar at the bottom here, but let me show you how to do that actually. So you right-click on the data set and calibrate intensity scale. So you have to choose the background and select. You can select the point of the background and the foreground, or you can select an area in the background and also in the material. So you can do this using these eyedropper tools, and you can calibrate the intensity scale. So that's how you calibrate the intensity scale, and then you can apply your AI model. So in this case, it looks decent on a first inspection, but if you look closely, there's some pores that are missed. So this is to be expected because this data set that we exposed it to is different than the training data that the model was trained on. And that's fine. The idea of these pre-trained models are that they won't work perfectly on all data. The idea is to use them as a starting point for further training. And this is what I would like to demonstrate here. If we go here in Artificial Intelligence Segmentation Wizard, would like to use the AM defect model version 1.0 as a starting model and start with this model. So this segmentation wizard is an easy interface method to add training data to your model. And the first frame that I'm making smaller here is what we will use as input into this training. So there's 3 classes already defined, and we can use these nice segmentation tools here. I use the 2D brush based on local Otsu thresholding to define. Let me just delete there. I'm using the control button to add based on the local threshold, and we can do the same thing for the background actually. In this case, it's quite the fastest way to do that. And for material, just right click and add everything else to that class. So that was just a quick way of adding some data to this model. We can go to somewhere else in the data and zoom in and make a plus button here. The second frame that I've just made, you can do the same thing and provide input, or you can double click that drop down and make this the monitoring frame. So now we are ready to make a training. It's using an already trained model and adding data to it. So it will be very fast to converge to a good solution for this data. So let's see that working. In this interface here, you see all the details of the AI at the top, and you'll see the convergence. This is a real-time live demo of deep learning working, and it's quite fast. As you see, it's working quite well because the model was already trained. And it's just adding some data. So it's actually stopped very fast. It's converged. It has an auto stopping. And in this case, we're quite happy with that. You can actually add data and continue training. In this case, we just click on exit, and I'm going to call this AM defect model. Let's just rename it here. I've done this a few times, so I'm calling this version 6. And I'm publishing this model. That means it's saved into my system, so I can go and use it. So in this case, I'm going to now again apply this model, and I'm going to use this version 6 model. So let's do a preview. So we do only on this slice here, and we see now that this new segmentation is a lot better than the previous one. We are not missing as many pores. So I've only made one slice analysis. I only segmented one slice here. And the idea is to, first of all, save time, but also secondly, show you also how to make 2D analysis. In general, not just for AI, you can analyze in 2 dimensions in Dragonfly also in the same way as in 3 dimensions. So if we take the pores from this multi-ROI output from the deep learning, we can extract this as an ROI. So we have a 2-dimensional region of interest here. You see this by looking at this annotation here, which says slice 1 of 1. We can do a right click and connected components, new multi-ROI. So there we have, again, as before, color-coded pores based on no information yet. But if we right click, we can make compute measurements, the same as before, except there's now a 2D measurements that are available here. So you can select all 2D measurements. These are always quite fast. Click on compute, and now you have 2D analysis in one slice in your data. So you can make all kinds of 2D roundness analysis and so on. And again, in the same way as before, analyze that statistically, and as I've demonstrated everything before. That's everything I wanted to demonstrate in this data. The last data set I want to get to is a real challenge for CT porosity analysis, and I really would like to show you that before we wrap up this webinar. So I'm going to import the object. It's called Noisy Ring Metal Part. This was shared with thanks from the University of Texas. They are working on some research on this topic, and I helped to segment these pores for them. So in this case, I'm just going to show you the data. This is what it looks like. It's a ring object, and if you have a look, there's a lot of bright and dark streaks in the data. Basically, the metal is too dense and there wasn't enough X-rays, so you get these really ugly artifacts in the images. And you do see porosity, but there's quite serious grayscale differences across the image. To demonstrate that real briefly, I'm drawing a ruler across the sample here and looking at the profile intensity, and you see this profile intensity changing from 100 all the way down to 20 in the material of the sample. So it's really quite a challenge, and any normal segmentation method won't work very well on this data. So you see some pores in the dark area and pores in the bright areas. And what we will do here is a live deep learning segmentation on one slice only, because we don't have time for the full one. And I just need to find it. It's called AM Big Pores Noisy Data version 3. So it wasn't my first attempt at this, but it's a good example. I will choose again preview. And you see a real live demonstration of porosity segmentation. If you look at these blue pores that were segmented here, that's really quite impressive because of all the artifacts in that data. And I've actually segmented the full data set in previously, and I've loaded this into the workspace here that I can demonstrate. So let me just make the sample transparent and show the end result. The deep learning segmentation does take a bit of time, so but it makes it possible to segment this data set as you see there and get the porosity. And from there, you can then make color-coded porosity analysis and so on. So that's really a nice example of where deep learning solves a problem that was not possible to be solved by other methods. So that's really all the examples that we have time for today. I'm going to stop the screen sharing here and see if there's any specific questions in the Q&A that we can address. So there's a question about if the Q&A dialogue can be added to the webinar that is posted after the session is over. I already thought of that because there were very good questions earlier today on the previous session. So we will have a look at that for sure. So there's a question about filters and noise cleaning to be done before AI model, or the raw data can be used straight. This is a very good question because AI models, it's something that can be investigated. It's generally not necessary to clean the data because any kind of manipulation of the data loses information of it. So it's better to provide the most raw information possible as a rule of thumb. So let's see if there's any new answers here, questions here. My colleague Zishong did answer some questions already. So let's see what else can be answered here. So there's a question about the intensity calibration. What is that doing mathematically? Maybe I skipped over it a little bit. What it does is it selects the peak of the background as 0 and the peak of the material as 100. So it's not changing the data, it's just normalizing the values that are represented by the data.
Hi, Anton.
Yes.
Hey, very good presentation. Thank you. I think I answered most of questions until maybe 2 minutes ago. Maybe you can filter your questions to see the new post. That will be the new questions I have not answered. Or if I missed any questions, we can like vote for that. I can vote and make it to be on the top.
So I see quite a few now that have just been typed recently. So let me see. Is there a way to get an older version of Dragonfly with educational license that runs the PNM plugin? I don't actually know. I think please email to support about that. The PNM is coming back to the next version of Dragonfly, so watch the space. There's a question about connected components analysis. Can this be performed between two adjacent previously cropped regions? Yes, definitely. There's no limitation on how, on which regions that you can apply it to. If you have two different regions of interest, you need to merge them using the tools that I showed you where I made intersection. In that case, you will make a union and then apply a connected components analysis. So there's a question about when the webinar will be available. We will follow up with an email with a link to a recording. As far as I know, this is over to our marketing team and they will for sure be in touch. Also, keep your eye out for future webinars. Some of you might have missed it. We will be having more webinars. I won't be always the host of the webinar, but I will always be doing the industrial webinars. And if you have specific topics that you want covered, let us know, share some data with us. We'll be happy to address real world needs. So there's a question about would the segmentation be able to be used with the bone analysis plugin? Yes, I think so. Something also for the support desk, I think. Do the AMD deep learning, additive manufactured defect deep learning models work just as well for interconnected porosity segmentation? So no, the additive manufactured defect model is meant for small separated pores, and that's what it was trained on. If you're interested in segmenting interconnected porosity, it's best to train a model from scratch and give the model a lot of examples of that kind of porosity. Let's see, there's one new question. When will Dragonfly 2025 be rolling out? That's a very good question. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to answer that, but nobody told me that I'm not allowed to. So I'm going to tell you it's planned for July. So it's not very far down the line, but there's a lot of very good features that have been developed, and it's going to be a major update. So we will have a separate webinar also for highlighting the new features. There's a question about, can we extract specific pores in terms of size or shape and explore this? Yes, you can sort your pores based on various or any of these measures, and you can delete those or categorize some of them and export some of them into a separate region of interest and analyze them further like that. So there's a simple question here. How can you adjust the range of the color scale for a void analysis to start colorizing medium pores in red instead of the largest? Yes, that's a good question. We didn't have time for this, but there's something called a measurement inspector. So if you right-click on a multi-region of interest, you can choose an option called measurement inspector. And in this measurement inspector, you can choose the start and end of your color mapping selection. You can choose to make those that are out of range, that are smaller or larger to be invisible or to be the same color as the smallest one. So there's different options there, and it's quite a nice function to use actually. So check that out. Okay, next question. How can you export the data analyzed? Example, all attenuation values of the pores with a chosen histogram with fixed boundaries and not based on the min and max value, or all values to make a histogram yourself. So I'm not sure exactly the context of the question, but if you have your segmentation of the pores, by clicking on the histogram option of that segmentation, you can have all the gray values only of the pore spaces, and you can export that statistical information as I showed you with the histograms. So that's one way to do it. If that's not what you want to do, if you're interested in something different, please get in touch. I'd like to answer that. So there's more questions here. Let me see. Can permeability analysis be done in Dragonfly? Yes, we have something called Puma, which is including permeability simulation. So Puma, it's a plugin that is found under workflows, so you can do permeability analysis with this. Puma is a software, open source software, which was developed by researchers at NASA, and we implemented this into Dragonfly. Okay, so the last question, I guess that's the last one, was just a thank you. So appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you next time. Goodbye.